She scrubbed floors in a mansion where power lived behind closed doors. When the Mafia boss ordered her to look up, the makeup cracked, and so did his cold indifference. He saw the bruise she'd hidden so carefully, and in that single moment, decided no one in his house would ever be invisible again. The crystal tumbler slipped from Lena's fingers. For one horrible second, she watched it fall, the amber liquid catching the chandelier light, spinning in slow motion toward the white marble floor. Her heart stopped. In the DeLuca estate, even small mistakes had consequences. Her hand shot out. She caught it an inch from disaster. Careful there, the voice came from directly beside her, smooth as expensive whiskey. Lena's pulse hammered. She hadn't heard Vittorio De Luca approach, which was impossible because the man wore Italian leather shoes that clicked against marble like a metronome counting down to judgment. But there he stood, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something dark and woody that probably cost more than her monthly rent. "I'm sorry, Mr. De Luca." She kept her eyes down, fixed on the polished tips of his shoes. It won't happen again. She'd been working at the estate for 3 months, long enough to learn the rules. Staff didn't make eye contact with the family. Staff moved like ghosts, present but invisible, useful but silent. Staff definitely didn't drop things during business meetings. Around the massive oak table, 6 men in expensive suits pretended not to notice the interruption. But Lena felt their attention like heat against her skin. These weren't businessmen, despite the tailored wool and leather briefcases. These were predators in a temporary truce, gathered in Vittorio's study to discuss territories and percentages and things Lena pretended not to hear. "Refill Carmine's glass," Vittorio said. Not unkind, just distant. The way you'd instruct a machine. Lena moved around the table with practiced efficiency, pouring Macallan 25 into cut crystal. Her hands didn't shake. She'd learned that trick years ago, how to keep steady even when your insides were trembling. How to smile with a split lip. How to serve breakfast the morning after. She was halfway around the table when Vittorio spoke again. "You've been with us 3 months now. Lena, isn't it?" Her stomach dropped. He knew her name. That was either very good or very bad, and in her experience, it was never good when powerful men paid attention. "Yes, sir. My mother speaks highly of you. Says you're efficient, discreet." "Thank you, sir." She kept moving, kept pouring. "Don't stop. Don't give him a reason to look closer." "How are you finding the work?" It was such a normal question that it caught her off guard. Her hand hesitated over the next glass.
"It's good, sir."
"I'm grateful for the opportunity. And the staff? Everyone treating you well?" Something in his tone made her skin prickle. The question sounded casual, but nothing about Vittorio De Luca was casual. Every word he spoke was calculated, weighted, purposeful. "Yes, sir. Everyone's been very professional." She felt his gaze on her. The room had gone quiet in that particular way that meant everyone was listening while pretending not to. "Look at me when you answer." Lena's blood turned to ice. It wasn't a request. Vittorio De Luca didn't make requests. He gave orders that sounded like suggestions until you realized you'd already obeyed them. She could refuse. She could keep her head down and finish pouring, and maybe he'd let it go. But the silence was stretching too long now, and the other men were definitely watching, and refusing a direct order from Vittorio De Luca in front of his associates would be worse than whatever he saw when she looked up. Slowly, Lena lifted her head. She'd been so careful with the makeup. 30 minutes in the bathroom mirror this morning, layering concealer and powder like an artist. She'd checked it twice before leaving her apartment. It had been perfect. But foundation cracks under stress. Powder melts with sweat. And she'd been serving drinks for 90 minutes in a room that was too warm, under lights that were too bright. Vittorio's eyes locked onto hers. They were dark, not quite black, but close enough that you couldn't see where pupil ended and iris began. Cold eyes. Calculating eyes. Eyes that had seen things that would make normal people flinch. For 3 seconds, he just looked at her. Then his gaze shifted.
Down. To her left eye.
Lena watched his expression change. It wasn't dramatic. Vittorio De Luca didn't do dramatic. But something flickered across his face. Something sharp and dangerous that was there and gone so fast she almost missed it. The room went from quiet to silent. The kind of silence that preceded violence. "Who did that to you?" His voice was soft. Terrifyingly soft. "I walked into a door." The lie came automatically, smooth from years of practice. "Clumsy of me. A door." "Yes, sir." "What kind of door?" The question was so unexpected that she almost laughed. What kind of door? What did it matter what kind of door? "A bathroom door, sir. At my apartment. I got up in the middle of the night and forgot it was closed." She was good at lying. She'd had to be. But Vittorio was staring at her like he could see through skin and bones straight to the truth underneath. "Lena," he said her name like he was tasting it, testing its weight. "Do you know what I do for a living?" Of course she knew. Everyone in Chicago knew. The De Luca family controlled the South Side and half the docks. They moved money and merchandise through channels that didn't officially exist. They settled disputes that never made it to court. They were the kind of power that operated in shadows and back rooms and quiet conversations that changed the city. "You're a businessman, sir." His mouth quirked. Not quite a smile. "I'm very good at knowing when someone is lying to me. It's how I stay alive." He leaned back in his chair, casual, but his eyes never left her face. "That bruise is 4 days old. Door injuries are usually forehead or nose, high impact, straight on. Yours is under the eye. Angled up. Left-handed backhand." He paused. "And you're favoring your right side when you move." Rib. Lena couldn't breathe. How did he know? How could he possibly?
Who did that to
You. It wasn't a question anymore. And suddenly Lena understood why people feared this man. Not because he was loud or violent or cruel, but because he saw everything, noticed everything. And once Vittorio De Luca noticed you, there was nowhere to hide. "I'm handling it, sir," she whispered. "It won't affect my work." For a long moment he didn't respond. Then he picked up his own glass, took a slow sip, and set it down with deliberate care. "You're dismissed," he said quietly. "Take the rest of the evening off." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you, sir." "And Lena?" He looked at her one more time. "Find somewhere else to sleep tonight. Not your apartment." She opened her mouth to ask why, but something in his expression stopped her. She set down the decanter, smoothed her uniform, and walked out of the study with her head high and her heart pounding like a war drum. Behind her, she heard Vittorio's voice, cold as winter. "Carmine, which of our security personnel have access to the staff files?" The door closed before she heard the answer. Lena didn't go home that night. She checked into a motel on the edge of the city, the kind with hourly rates and a clerk who didn't ask questions as long as you paid cash. She sat on the stiff mattress, still wearing her uniform, and stared at her phone. 17 missed calls from Marco. She didn't listen to the voicemails. She already knew what they'd say. The first few would be apologies. Sweet words, promises that it would never happen again, reminders of how much he loved her. Then they'd turn angry. Accusations that she was overreacting, that she made him do it, that she was being dramatic. The last few would be threats. Her phone buzzed. Another call. She watched Marco's name flash on the screen until it went dark. She should have left him months ago. Should have seen the signs. But Marco had been charming at first, bringing her flowers, calling her beautiful, making her feel seen after years of being invisible. By the time his temper showed, she was already in too deep, already making excuses, already believing that maybe she really was the problem. And then she'd gotten the job at the De Luca estate, and Marco had been so proud. "My girl, working for the De Lucas," he'd said, kissing her forehead. "You're moving up in the world, baby." She'd thought he was happy for her. Now she wondered if that's when everything changed. The next morning, Lena arrived at the estate at dawn, just like always. She went through the service entrance, changed into a fresh uniform, and reported to the kitchen for her assignments. "Mrs. Chun," The head housekeeper looked up from her clipboard with an expression Lena couldn't read. Conference room 3 needs setting up for breakfast. Mr. DeLuca wants it ready by 7-inch. Yes, ma'am. Lena worked quickly, laying out china and silverware with mechanical precision. Her mind was elsewhere. What had Vittorio meant last night? Why had he asked about security personnel with access to staff files? She was polishing water glasses when she heard voices in the hallway. Male voices. Angry. This is bullshit, Mr. DeLuca. I've worked for your family for 3 years. And in those 3 years, you've proven yourself unreliable. Lena froze. She knew that first voice.
Marco.
One mistake and you're throwing me out? What about loyalty? What about loyalty? Vittorio's voice could have frozen fire. You want to talk to me about loyalty? Lena moved to the doorway, staying hidden in the shadows. Through the crack, she could see them in the hallway. Vittorio stood with his hands in his pockets, relaxed but radiating danger. Marco was red-faced, sweating in his security uniform. 2 other guards flanked them, Sal and Tommy, the estate's head of security and his lieutenant. They watched Marco, like wolves watching wounded prey. I didn't do anything wrong, Marco said, but his voice had taken on a whining quality. If this is about that maid. Her name is Lena. Marco's jaw worked.
Right. Lena.
Look, whatever she told you. She told me nothing. Vittorio took a step closer. Which is interesting, don't you think? A woman with a 4-day-old bruise on her face, cracked ribs, and she tells me nothing. Makes me wonder what she's afraid of. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
Vittorio pulled out his phone, scrolled, then turned the screen toward Marco. This is interesting too. Security footage from the staff parking lot. Last Thursday. 11 p.m. That's you, isn't it? Waiting by a silver Honda Civic. Registration matches Lena's car. Marco's face went pale. We were just talking. Vittorio zoomed in on the footage. Is that what we're calling it when a man grabs a woman by the throat and slams her against a car? Lena's hand flew to her mouth. She'd forgotten about the parking lot cameras. She'd been so focused on hiding the bruise, she hadn't thought about the footage. It was an argument, Marco said quickly. Couples fight. It's none of your business. Everything that happens on my property is my business. Vittorio's voice dropped to a whisper. You hit a woman who works for me. In my parking lot. While wearing my uniform. That makes it very much my business. Marco's hands curled into fists. For a second, Lena thought he might actually swing at Vittorio. But Sal moved slightly, his jacket opening just enough to show the shoulder holster underneath. Marco's hands unclenched. You're fired, Vittorio said. Effective immediately. Sal will escort you to collect your things. You have 10 minutes. You can't do this. I can. I am. Vittorio turned to walk away, then paused. And Marco? If I hear you've gone anywhere near Lena again, her apartment, her car, her favorite coffee shop, we'll have a different kind of conversation. The kind that doesn't end with you walking away. Are we clear? Marco's face twisted with rage, but he nodded.
Good.
Get him out of my sight. Sal grabbed Marco's arm, but Marco jerked away. I don't need your help, he spat on the marble floor. A last act of defiance. This family's going to shit anyway. Everyone knows it. The Revellis are moving in, the Irish are pushing south, and you're wasting time on some nobody maid. He didn't finish the sentence. Vittorio moved so fast Lena barely saw it. 1 second, he was 5 feet away. The next, his hand was around Marco's throat, pressing him against the wall. Her name, Vittorio said softly, is Lena. Say it. Marco's eyes bulged.
Elena.
Good. Now, get out of my house. He released Marco, who stumbled, gasping. Sal and Tommy grabbed him, less gentle this time, and hauled him down the hallway. Vittorio straightened his suit jacket, smoothed his tie, and walked away like nothing had happened. Lena stood in the doorway, trembling.
She should feel relieved. Marco was gone.
She was safe. But something Marco said echoed in her mind. This family's going to shit anyway. And she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just stepped into something much bigger than a bad relationship. Lena tried to quit the next morning. She'd rehearsed the speech in her motel room mirror. Professional. Apologetic. Brief. I appreciate the opportunity, but given recent circumstances, I think it's best if I move on clean. Simple. No drama. But when she arrived at the estate, Mrs. Chen intercepted her before she could reach the main office. Mr. DeLuca wants to see you. His private study. Top floor. Lena's carefully prepared speech evaporated. Did he say why? Mrs. Chen's expression was unreadable. He doesn't explain himself to me, dear. He just tells me where people need to be. The walk to the top floor felt like climbing to an execution. Lena had never been to Vittorio's private study. Staff weren't allowed on the family floors without explicit permission. The hallway was different up here. Quieter. The carpet was thicker, the artwork more expensive. Everything whispered old money and older secrets. She knocked on the heavy oak door.
Come in.
Vittorio sat behind a massive mahogany desk, reading something on his laptop. He didn't look up immediately. Close the door.
Sí.
Lena obeyed, perching on the edge of a leather chair that probably cost more than her car. The study was exactly what she'd expected: floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a bar cart with crystal decanters, windows overlooking the estate grounds. But it was messier than she'd imagined. Papers everywhere. File folders stacked in precarious towers. A whiteboard covered in names and numbers she didn't understand. You didn't go home last night, Vittorio said, still not looking at her. Good. How did you? She stopped. Of course he knew. Mr. DeLuca, I came here to resign.
No.
The word was so simple, so absolute, that it took her a moment to process. Sir, I appreciate everything you've done, but I can't. Marco Ricci, Vittorio, finally looked up. 3 years on my security team. Adequate performance reviews. No major incidents. He turned his laptop around. Until I looked closer. The screen showed a spreadsheet. Rows and rows of numbers. Payroll records, Vittorio continued. Your ex-boyfriend was on the state security unit. Base salary $48,000. Benefits package. Overtime pay. Standard, he scrolled down. Except every 2 weeks, there's a discrepancy. Small amounts. 200 here. 350 there. Never enough to trigger an automatic audit. But over 3 years? He pulled up another sheet. The total at the bottom made Lena's eyes widen. $63,000, Vittorio said quietly. Someone's been skimming from the security payroll, and Marco's unit has the highest rate of unexplained expenses. Lena's mouth went dry. You think Marco was stealing from you? I know he was. The question is whether he was smart enough to do it alone. Vittorio stood, walked to the window. I need to clean house, Lena. But I need to be careful about it. Start firing people without proof, and I look weak. Start investigating openly, and whoever's helping Marco disappears. I don't understand what this has to do with me. He turned, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Not anger, not suspicion. Something almost like respect. You can read, can't you? The question was so random it threw her. Of course I can read. I don't mean magazines and text messages. I mean really read. Documents. Contracts. Financial records. Lena shifted uncomfortably. My father was a bookkeeper. He taught me.
Why?
Vittorio walked back to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a thick folder. He dropped it in front of her. Marco worked security, but he also handled supply orders for his unit. Uniforms, equipment, cleaning supplies for the guardhouse. He opened the folder. These are his requisition forms from the last 6 months. Tell me what you see. Lena pulled the folder closer. At first, everything looked normal. Standard order forms, equipment lists, quantities and prices. Then she noticed the patterns. The numbers are wrong, she said slowly. A case of industrial cleaner costs $48, but he's listing it as $84. Box of latex gloves, normally $12, he's charging $21. Keep going. She flipped through more pages, her father's voice in her head. Always check the numbers twice, Lena. Numbers don't lie, but people who write them down do. The frequency is wrong too, she said, more confident now. He's ordering cleaning supplies every week. But a security unit of 8 men shouldn't need. Wait, she pulled out a calculator from her purse, started running numbers. According to this, his unit uses more cleaning supplies than the entire main house. That doesn't make sense unless he's ordering supplies that don't exist, Vittorio finished. And pocketing the difference. Or ordering real supplies and selling them elsewhere. Lena looked up at him. But these are approved. Someone signed off on them. Exactly, Vittorio leaned against his desk. Which means Marco had help. Someone in procurement. Someone in accounting. Maybe someone higher up. He paused. I fired him yesterday. This morning, I get word that certain people are nervous. Making phone calls. Asking questions about what I know. You rattled the cage. I did. And now they're scrambling. He looked at her directly. I need someone who can go through records without raising suspicion. Someone who has a reason to be in the office areas. Someone these people won't see as a threat. Understanding hit her like cold water. You want me to spy for you. I want you to help me clean my house. There's a difference. No, Lena stood up. No, absolutely not. I'm a maid, not a... You're a woman with a talent for numbers who's being paid minimum wage to scrub toilets. His voice was sharp now. You could be doing real work, important work, and getting paid appropriately for it. I could also get killed. You think Marco's going to let this go? Vittorio's eyes hardened. You think firing him was enough? He's angry, humiliated, and now he's about to lose his income stream. Men like him don't just walk away, Lena. They come back. And when they do, would you rather be defenseless? Or would you rather be under my protection, in my house, with a reason for me to keep you close? Lena's legs felt weak. She sat back down. What would I have to do? Vittorio pulled out another folder. Thinner this time. Start with these. Supply requisitions, laundry invoices, maintenance records. Boring paperwork that crosses my desk every month. I need you to read them the way your father taught you. Find the lies buried in the numbers. He opened the folder. On top was a laundry invoice from an industrial cleaning company. Start there, he said. Tell me what you see. Lena pulled it closer, her hands shaking slightly. At first, it looked standard. Then she saw it, a line item that made her freeze. This company, she whispered. Marco took me here. 6 months ago. He said it was a surprise date, that he wanted to show me where he grew up. She looked up at Vittorio. Why would your laundry service be at the docks? Vittorio's smile was cold and satisfied. That's exactly the question I need answered. Lena moved into the estate 3 days later. It wasn't a request. Vittorio had Mrs. Chun prepare a room in the staff quarters, small but private, with a lock on the door and a window overlooking the gardens. Safer than a motel, he'd said. And closer to the work. The work. That's what he called it, as if she were filing papers instead of untangling a web of theft and lies. Her new assignment was simple on the surface. Office assistant to the estate manager. She'd organize files, process invoices, handle correspondence. Boring administrative work that no one would question. The kind of job that gave her access to every piece of paper that flowed through the DeLuca organization. But at night, after the rest of the staff had gone home, Vittorio would call her to his study. And that's when the real work began. This came in today. He slid a folder across his desk. Uniform supplier invoice. Security division. Tell me what's wrong with it. Lena had gotten faster at this. She scanned the columns, checking quantities against previous orders, prices against market rates, delivery dates against shift schedules. The order's too large, she said after 2 minutes. You have 18 security personnel total, rotating shifts. This order is for 42 uniforms. Why would Marco order extra?
She thought about it.
Either he's selling them, or she pulled out another folder, one they'd reviewed 2 days ago. Or he's giving them to people who shouldn't have them. People who need to look like they belong here.
Vittorio nodded slowly.
Keep going. Over the next 2 weeks, Lena fell into a rhythm. Days were spent in the estate office, sorting through mundane paperwork. But she had a good memory and her father's eye for detail. She'd noticed discrepancies, flagged suspicious invoices, memorized names that appeared too often in the wrong places. Nights were spent in Vittorio's study, spreading documents across his desk like pieces of a puzzle. This shipping company, she pointed to a recurring name on transport invoices. Bellini Freight. They show up everywhere. Laundry pickup, supply delivery, grounds maintenance equipment. But look at the timing.
Vittorio Lind closer.
Tuesday and Thursday nights. After midnight. Who delivers cleaning supplies at 1 in the morning? Someone who's not delivering cleaning supplies. He pulled up something on his laptop. Bellini Freight is registered to a Paolo Bellini. Address is a warehouse in the dock district. He turned the screen. Right next to the laundry service, where Marco took you. Lena felt her stomach tighten. That date had been strange from the start. Marco had been nervous, checking his phone constantly, steering her away from certain areas. She'd thought he was planning to propose. Instead, he got in a phone call, kissed her forehead, and left her waiting in the car for 40 minutes. He was using me as cover, she said quietly. If anyone asked what he was doing there, he was just taking his girlfriend on a date. Clever. Vittorio's voice was cold and cruel. He made you an unwitting accomplice. The thought made her sick. How many times had Marco used her that way? How many errands and surprise dates had actually been covers for whatever he was really doing? What do you think he was moving? She asked. That's what we need to find out. Vittorio stood, walked to his whiteboard. It was covered in names now, connected by lines and arrows. Marco's name sat in the center, like a spider in a web. But I have a theory. Look at this. He pointed to a cluster of invoices they'd flagged over the past week. All from different vendors, all with the same subtle irregularities. Industrial cleaning supplies from Chun Chemical. Automotive parts from Rossi Motors. Construction materials from Moretti Building Supply. All ordered in quantities that don't match usage. All delivered by Bellini Freight. All paid for by my organization. Lena studied the board. You think Marco was smuggling? Vittorio drew a line connecting the vendors to the freight company. Not drugs. Too risky with my name attached. But weapons? Stolen goods? Contraband moving through my legitimate business channels. He turned to face her. That's exactly the kind of operation someone would pay good money for. Use my trucks, my warehouses, my reputation. If it gets caught, I take the fall. The real criminals walk away clean. But Marco's not smart enough to set this up alone, Lena said.
No.
He's not. Vittorio's expression darkened. Which means he's working for someone. Someone who wanted access to my operation. Someone who's been using him. He stopped, looked at her. Using both of you. The words hung in the air. Lena thought about the bruises. The late-night calls Marco would take in the next room, lowering his voice so she couldn't hear. The way he'd gotten angry when she'd tried to quit the estate job, insisting she was throwing away a good opportunity. He hadn't wanted her to quit because he needed her here. Visible. Vulnerable. A perfect hostage if things went wrong. I need to see that warehouse, Vittorio said. The one where Marco took you. But I can't just walk in. Too obvious. What about the invoices? Lena shuffled through papers until she found what she was looking for. Bellini Freight has a pickup scheduled for tomorrow night. 11 p.m. If your trucks are being used, your people have a right to inspect the cargo. Vittorio smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. You're getting good at this. My father always said the truth is in the details. You just have to know where to look.
Smart man.
He was. Lena's throat tightened, until he testified against the wrong people and ended up dead in an alley that the police called a robbery gone wrong. Vittorio's smile faded. When was this? 8 years ago. He was working as a bookkeeper for an import-export company. Found discrepancies. Reported them. 3 days before the trial, someone killed him. She met Vittorio's eyes. They never caught who did it. The case went cold. The company was never charged. What was the company name? I don't remember. I was 18 and she stopped.
Wait.
Let me think. She closed her eyes, trying to pull up the memory. Her father, sitting at their kitchen table, papers spread everywhere, his face tight with worry. I have to do the right thing, Lena, even if it's dangerous. It was something Italian, she said slowly.
Or something.
Ravelli. Her eyes snapped open. Vittorio was staring at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Not cold. Not calculating. Something almost like horror. Ravelli Imports, he said quietly. Run by the Ravelli family. My biggest competitors, he sat down heavily. Lena. Your father's name. What was it? Thomasson.
Why?
Vittorio pulled up something on his laptop, typed rapidly, then turned the screen toward her. It was a news article from 8 years ago. Bookkeeper found dead after agreeing to testify in fraud case. And there was her father's picture. I remember this case, Vittorio said. The Ravellis were accused of smuggling weapons through their import business. Your father was going to expose their whole operation. And then he looked at her. This wasn't random, Lena. Marco didn't find you by accident. The room tilted. What are you saying? I'm saying the Ravellis have been planning this for 8 years. And you were always part of the plan. Lena couldn't breathe. 8 years. 8 years of thinking her father's death was just bad luck. Wrong place, wrong time. A robbery. An accident. Something random in a random world. But it hadn't been random at all. Show me the photo again. Her voice sounded distant, like someone else was speaking. The dock. Where Marco took me. Vittorio pulled it up on his laptop. It was a surveillance photo, grainy and dark, showing a cluster of warehouses along the waterfront. One building was circled in red. Lena leaned closer, her heart pounding. The layout was familiar. The angle of the buildings. The chain-link fence with the torn section near the back. He took me there on a Thursday night, she said slowly. 6 months ago. Said he wanted to show me where he grew up, that his uncle used to work at the docks. She pointed at the screen.
He parked right there.
Told me to wait in the car. Said he just needed to check on something for work. What time? Around midnight. He was gone for maybe 30 minutes. When he came back, he was different. Excited. Kept talking about how things were going to change, how we were going to have money soon. She looked up at Vittorio. I thought he was going to propose. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were being played by professionals. Vittorio zoomed in on the warehouse. This building is owned by a shell company. 3 layers deep, but I had my people dig. At the bottom, Ravelli Imports. The name made her flinch. The same company my father testified against. The same one. Vittorio pulled up another document. After your father died, the case fell apart.
No witness, no testimony, no conviction.
The Ravellis walked away clean. They've been operating in the shadows ever since, slowly expanding their territory. He paused. They want what I have, Lena. My docs, my connections, my legitimacy. But they can't take it by force. So they've been trying something smarter. Infiltration, Lena whispered.
Exactly.
Get their people inside my organization. Use my resources for their operations. And when I finally notice, when everything comes crashing down, I'm the one who takes the fall. My reputation destroyed, my family weakened, and the Ravellis move in to pick up the pieces. Lena's mind was racing. But why me? If they wanted someone inside your organization, why not just plant one of their own people? Because you're perfect. Vittorio's voice was gentle but firm. You're Thomasson's daughter. The man who tried to expose them. Having you working for their enemy? It's poetic justice in their eyes. And if things go wrong, if you get caught in the crossfire, he didn't finish the sentence. They'd be erasing the last loose end from 8 years ago. Lena felt cold.
Marco.
How long have I been with him? How long? 9 months. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. He spilled his drink on me, apologized, bought me a new one. We started talking and she stopped. It wasn't an accident. None of it was an accident. Vittorio shook his head. I'd bet everything he was told to find you, to date you, to make you trust him. And when the time was right, to get you a job here. The memory hit her like a physical blow. Marco, 3 months into their relationship, casually mentioning that the DeLuca estate was hiring, that he could put in a good word, that it would be great money, much better than her waitressing job. She'd been so grateful, so touched that he was thinking about her future. He was setting me up from the beginning, her voice cracked. Everything. The dates, the gifts, the promises. All of it was a lie. Not just a lie. A mission. Vittorio closed his laptop. But here's what they didn't count on. You're smart, Lena. Observant. And you have your father's gift for reading numbers. You've helped me uncover more in 2 weeks than my own security team found in 3 years. So what do? We use what we know. Vittorio stood, walked to his whiteboard. Marco's been fired. He's angry, desperate, and probably scared. The Revellis are going to want to know what went wrong, what I know, what you told me. They're going to put pressure on him. And when people get pressured, they make mistakes, Lena said.
Exactly.
Marco will either run, or he'll try to salvage the operation. Either way, he'll lead us to whoever he's working with. Vittorio drew a new line on the board, connecting Marco's name to the Revelli family. But we need proof. Solid evidence that ties the Revellis to the smuggling operation. Something that will hold up in court or in front of the commission. The commission? The families that run this city. We have rules, territories, agreements. If I can prove the Revellis have been violating those agreements, using my territory for their operations without permission, they'll be forced to back down. He turned to face her. But if I make an accusation without proof, I look paranoid.
Weak.
And that's exactly what they want. Lena walked to the window, looking out at the estate grounds. Somewhere out there, Marco was planning his next move. And behind him, the people who'd killed her father were pulling the strings. The pickup tomorrow night, she said. At the dock. What if we follow it? See where the cargo goes. Too risky. If they spot us. Then don't use your people. Use me. Vittorio stared at her. Absolutely not. Why not? I'm already involved. And Marco knows my car. If he sees it near the docks, he won't think it's surveillance. He'll think she paused, hating what she was about to say. He'll think I'm weak. That I'm trying to get him back. That I can't let go. Which puts you directly in danger. I'm already in danger. Lena turned to face him. You said it yourself. The Revellis know who I am. Know what my father did. Whether I help you or not, I'm a target. At least this way, I'm fighting back. Vittorio was quiet for a long moment. Then he walked to his desk, pulled out a small device that looked like a pen. GPS tracker, he said. If you're going to do this, you wear this. And you stay in the car. You don't get out, you don't approach anyone, you don't take risks. You just observe and report. Understand? Lena took the device, feeling its weight in her palm. It was heavier than she expected. There's something else, she said quietly. That night Marco took me to the docks. When he came back to the car, he wasn't alone. Vittorio's eyes sharpened. What? I only saw him for a second. Another man. They stood by Marco's door, talking. The man handed Marco something, an envelope, I think. Then he walked away. Did you see his face?
No.
But I saw his ring.
Big. Gold.
Shaped like, she closed her eyes, pulling up the memory. Like a raven with spread wings. Vittorio's expression went cold as ice. That's the Revelli family crest, he said. Marco wasn't just working for them. He was meeting with them directly. He looked at her. The man you saw was probably Antonio Revelli, the heir to their organization. If he's personally involved, this is bigger than smuggling. This is war. Lena felt her resolve harden. Then, let's give them one. The next morning, Vittorio called a meeting. Not in his private study, but in the formal conference room where he conducted official business. Lena watched from the hallway as a dozen men filed in, captains, lieutenants, advisors. The inner circle of the DeLuca family. She wasn't supposed to be there, but Vittorio had asked her to stay close. I might need you, he'd said cryptically. Through the partially open door, she heard voices. Tense. Worried. losing shipments to the Irish on the north side. The Colombians are pushing into our territory on the docks. And now this mess with the Revelis. We don't know it's the Revelis that was Carmine, Vittorio's underboss. Older, cautious, loyal. We have suspicions, not proof. The proof is in the missing money. Vittorio's voice cut through the others like a blade. 63,000 from payroll. God knows how much from the smuggling operation. Someone's been bleeding us dry, and they've been using our own people to do it. Marco Ricci was small time. Another voice said. A glorified thug. You really think he could orchestrate something this elaborate?
No.
Which is why he was perfect. The Revelis needed someone we wouldn't suspect. Someone loyal enough to follow orders, but stupid enough to get caught eventually. So we're being set up. We've been set up for years. Vittorio's tone was grim. And it's working. The other families are watching, waiting to see if we can handle our own house. If we look weak, they'll move in. The Irish, the Russians, even the Colombians. They'll carve up our territory like a Thanksgiving turkey. Silence. Then Carmine spoke. What do you need from us? I need eyes on the Revelis. Every property, every business, every soldier. I want to know what they're eating for breakfast. And I need it quiet. No moves that look like aggression. Not yet. And if they make a move first, then we respond. Hard a pause. But not until I have proof. The Commission won't back a war without justification. And without the Commission's support, we're on our own. Lena heard chairs scraping, the meeting ending. She stepped back into a doorway as the men filed out, their faces hard and worried. They didn't notice her.
To them, she was just staff.
Invisible. Vittorio appeared last, saw her, and gave a subtle nod. Follow me. They walked to his study in silence. Once inside, he closed the door and locked it. The Revelis are making their move, he said without preamble. I got word an hour ago. They're reaching out to my suppliers, my contacts at the port, even some of my own men, offering better terms, better protection. They're trying to poach my operation piece by piece. While you're distracted with Marco.
Exactly.
Fire me. Investigate the theft. Clean house. It all makes me look unstable. Like I'm losing control. And in this business, perception is everything. He pulled out a folder, handed it to her. This came this morning.
Anonymous tip.
Lena opened it. Inside were photos. Surveillance shots of the dock warehouse where Marco had taken her. But these were recent, time-stamped from last night. The images showed trucks. 3 of them, unmarked white panel vans, backed up to a loading dock. Men moving crates. And in one shot, clear as day, was Marco talking to a man in an expensive suit. That's Antonio Revelli, Vittorio said. Heir to the Revelli family. 32 years old, Harvard-educated, more dangerous than his father because he's smarter. If he's personally overseeing operations in my territory, this isn't just business. It's personal. Lena studied the photo. Antonio was handsome in a cold way, with sharp features and calculating eyes. The kind of man who smiled while planning your funeral. Why would they send you these photos? She asked. Because they want me to know. Want me to react emotionally. Make a mistake. Rush in with guns blazing and give them an excuse to retaliate. Vittorio's jaw was tight. They're baiting me. So, we don't take the bait.
No.
We set our own trap. He pulled out a map of the city, marked with pins and colored lines. The pickup tonight at Bellini Freight. That's still happening. But I'm going to leak information. False information. Make them think I'm planning a raid on a different location. And while they're prepared for an attack, that never comes. You follow the real shipment. See where it goes. Who receives it? Get me names, locations, proof. He looked at her seriously. This is your last chance to back out, Lena. Once you're in position, once they see you, there's no taking it back. Lena thought about her father. About the 8 years she'd spent thinking his death was meaningless. About Marco's lies, the bruises, the careful manipulation. About being a pawn in someone else's game. I'm not backing out. At 10:30 that night, Lena sat in her Honda Civic 3 blocks from the Bellini freight warehouse. She wore dark clothes, her hair tied back. The GPS tracker Vittorio had given her tucked in her jacket pocket. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. They're moving. 3 trucks. Stay back. Don't engage. She knew it was Vittorio, using a burner phone. Headlights appeared at the end of the street. 3 white panel vans, exactly as shown in the photos. They pulled out of the warehouse in a convoy, moving slowly through the empty dock district. Lena waited until they were a block away, then started her engine and followed. The trucks headed south, away from DeLuca territory and deeper into the industrial zone. Lena kept her distance, her heart hammering. She'd taken a few self-defense classes after Marco's first hit, but she was under no illusion that she could fight her way out if things went wrong. The convoy turned onto a side street. Lena followed, then cursed. It was a dead end. Chain-link fence on 3 sides, the street ending at an old meatpacking plant. The trucks were stopped, waiting. Lena's blood went cold. It was a trap. She threw her car in reverse, but headlights blazed behind her. 2 more vehicles blocking her exit. Her phone buzzed again. Get out now. But it was too late. Men emerged from the trucks. 4, 5, 6 of them. And walking toward her car, silhouetted against the headlights, was a figure she recognized even from a distance.
Marco.
He was smiling. Hello, baby, he called out, his voice carrying in the night air. Miss me? Lena's hand went to her door lock, but someone was already there, tapping on the window with the barrel of a gun. Mr. Ravelli would like a word, the man said politely. Please step out of the vehicle. She looked in her rear-view mirror. More men behind her.
No escape.
Her phone buzzed one more time. Hold on. Coming. But Vittorio was miles away, and she was surrounded. Slowly, hands shaking, Lena opened the door and stepped out into the night. Don't hurt her, Marco's voice carried across the empty street. Not yet. Lena's legs felt like water as rough hands pulled her away from her car. The men surrounded her in a loose circle, blocking any chance of escape. They weren't thugs. They moved with military precision, professional and calm. Marco walked toward her, and in the harsh light of the headlamps, she could see his face clearly. The charming smile was gone. What remained was something uglier, meaner. You broke my heart, baby. He stopped a few feet away. I gave you everything. Love, attention, a good job. And you threw it back in my face. You hit me. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. I disciplined you. There's a difference, he circled her slowly. You were supposed to be grateful, obedient. Instead, you ran to Vittorio DeLuca, like some kind of damsel in distress. Got me fired. Humiliated me in front of his men. You stole from him. Marco's hand shot out and grabbed her jaw. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to make his point. I worked for people more powerful than him.
Then you.
Than anyone in this city. He released her roughly. And now you're going to help me finish the job. I'm not helping you with anything.
No.
He pulled out his phone, tapped it, and turned the screen toward her.
It was a photo of her apartment building.
Time-stamped from 30 minutes ago. You've got a neighbor, Marco said conversationally. Mrs. Rodriguez, right? Sweet old lady. Makes you tamales at Christmas. Checks your mail when you're away. He swiped to another photo. Mrs. Rodriguez, walking her small dog. Be a shame if something happened to her. Or her granddaughter. She's 6, right? Adorable kid. Ice flooded Lena's veins. You wouldn't. I wouldn't. But they would. Marco gestured to the men around them. These guys? They don't care about civilians. About collateral damage. They do what they're told. What do you want from me? Smart girl. Finally asking the right questions, Marco pocketed his phone. Your new boss likes you. Trusts you. Keeps you close. That's useful. I won't spy on Vittorio. You don't have to, Marco's smile returned, cold and satisfied. You already did. See, that GPS tracker in your pocket? The one DeLuca gave you, so he could keep you safe. Lena's hand instinctively went to her jacket. The tracker was still there, still active, still. We've been watching his security frequencies for months, Marco continued. That tracker? It's broadcasting your location right to his security team, which means he knows exactly where you are right now, which means he spread his hands. He's on his way. Understanding crashed over her like a wave. This was the trap. Not for me. For him. Gold star, baby. You always were smart with puzzles. Marco walked back toward the trucks. DeLuca's been careful. Stays protected. Stays surrounded by his men.
But you?
Vulnerable little you. Trapped and alone. He'll come running. Can't help himself. And when he gets here. One of the trucks opened. More men emerged, carrying cases that Lena recognized from action movies. Rifles. Body armor. This wasn't a kidnapping. It was an ambush. You're going to start a war, Lena said. We're going to finish one that should have ended years ago. Antonio Ravelli stepped out of the lead truck, adjusting his suit jacket like he was attending a business meeting. Up close, he was even more intimidating, tall, composed, with the kind of confidence that came from never losing. The DeLucas have held this territory for 3 generations. They're old blood.
Stubborn. Proud.
But pride makes you stupid. He walked toward Lena, studying her like she was a specimen under glass. Your father learned that lesson, he said softly. Thomas Chen.
Good man. Honest man.
Thought he could stand against my family with nothing but paperwork and testimony. We taught him the price of that particular brand of stupidity. Rage, hot and pure, surged through Lena. You murdered him. I was 24 at the time. In business school. But yes, my family eliminated a problem. Nothing personal. Antonio tilted his head. Though I admit, there's a certain poetry to this. Thomas Chen's daughter, used as bait to eliminate Vittorio DeLuca. Your father tried to destroy us with words. You'll help destroy our enemies with your death. In a way, you're both martyrs for the same cause. Vittorio won't come alone, Lena said desperately. He'll bring his whole crew. We're counting on it. Antonio gestured to the rooftops surrounding them. Lena looked up and saw more men positioned with rifles. This meatpacking district is a bottleneck. One way in, one way out. When DeLuca comes charging in to rescue you, we'll be waiting. His men, his captains, his underboss. Everyone who matters, all in one place. He smiled. By morning, the DeLuca family will be decapitated. Leaderless. And the commission will have no choice but to reassign their territory to someone who can actually control it. Lena's mind raced. The GPS tracker in her pocket was a beacon. Vittorio would follow it straight into a kill box. He knew it was a trap. His text had told her he was coming. But did he understand the scale? The preparation. She had to warn him. Had to. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Give me that. Marco snatched it from her, looked at the screen, and laughed. Text from your hero. Hold on. Coming. He held the phone up for Antonio to see. Told you he'd take the bait. Antonio checked his watch. How long? 10 minutes, maybe 15. Depends on traffic. Marco tossed Lena's phone into a nearby dumpster. And whether he stops to gear up or just comes running like an idiot. Secure her in the middle truck, Antonio ordered. Windows blacked out. If shooting starts, I don't want DeLuca seeing her until it's too late to matter. Hands grabbed Lena's arms. She struggled, but they were too strong. Too many. They dragged her toward the center panel van. Marco, she screamed. They're going to kill you too. You know that, right? Once this is over, you're a loose end. Marco's smile faltered. Just for a second. Antonio caught it. Caught her words. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Marco's been well compensated for his service, Antonio said smoothly. 50,000 up front. Another 50 when the job's complete. Plus a position in our organization. He's family now. But the way he said it, the slight emphasis on the word position, made Marco's face go pale. They threw Lena into the truck and slammed the door. Darkness. The sound of locks engaging. She felt along the walls, searching for anything she could use. The truck was empty except for a few moving blankets and rope. No weapons. No tools. Nothing. Outside, she heard Antonio's voice. Everyone to positions. Safety's off. When the DeLucas arrive, wait for my signal. I want Vittorio alive long enough to see his family destroyed. Then kill him last. Footsteps. Engines starting. The sounds of men preparing for war. And in the distance, growing closer, the wail of sirens.
No.
Not sirens. Car engines. Multiple vehicles moving fast. Vittorio was coming. And Lena was trapped in the center of a killing zone with no way to warn him. The engines grew louder. 3 vehicles, maybe 4, coming fast. Inside the truck, Lena's hands worked frantically in the darkness. The rope they'd left behind, they meant to tie her up, but hadn't bothered yet. She grabbed it, feeling along the walls for anything sharp. Her fingers found a metal bracket where a shelf used to be mounted. Not much, but enough. She started sawing the rope against it, not to cut it, but to fray the ends. Make it look used. Make it look like she'd been bound and broke free. Outside, she heard Antonio's voice. Hold positions. No one fires until I give the word. The vehicle screeched to a stop. Doors opened. Footsteps on pavement. Then Vittorio's voice, calm and clear. I'm here, Antonio. Let her go.
Vittorio De Luca Antonio sounded a Maid.
Right on time. I appreciate punctuality in a man I'm about to kill. You think this is smart? Starting a war in the middle of the city. I think this is overdue. Your family's been weak for years. Everyone knows it. The other families are just waiting for someone to make the first move a pause. I'm making it. Lena pressed her ear against the truck wall. She could hear them, but couldn't see anything. How many men had Vittorio brought? Was Carmine with him? Sal? Or had he come with just a few, rushing to save her? Before you do something stupid, Vittorio said, you might want to check your phones. Silence. Confused murmurs. What is this? Antonio's voice had lost its amusement. Those are photos, Vittorio continued. Taken about 30 minutes ago at your warehouse on 5th Street. The one you think I don't know about. And those crates your men are loading? I had someone test the contents. Very interesting. Military-grade weapons. Unregistered. Untraceable. Being moved through my dock territory without permission. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your warehouse. Call your men. Oh, wait. Vittorio's voice turned cold. You can't. Because federal agents are raiding it right now. The words hung in the air like a bomb. You called the feds? Antonio sounded genuinely shocked. You broke the code. You brought outsiders into family business. You started smuggling weapons using my infrastructure, my name, my reputation. You made it my business. And when someone uses me, I don't care about codes. I care about survival. The commission will have your head for this. The commission will thank me. You violated the agreement, Antonio. Used my territory, without permission. Framed me for your operation. That's grounds for sanction. Vittorio's voice was sharp now. I've already sent the evidence to every family head in the city. By morning, they'll all know what you did. And they'll wonder what else you're hiding. Inside the truck, Lena's heart pounded. This was Vittorio's real plan. Not a rescue mission. Not a shootout. Information warfare. He'd let her be taken, let Antonio think he'd won, all while building a case that would destroy the Revellis politically. But it was also insanely risky. If Antonio decided to cut his losses and kill everyone. You're lying, Antonio said, but his voice wavered. You couldn't have gotten to my warehouse. It's guarded. By men who thought they were getting a bonus shipment tonight. I sent Marco. The name echoed in the silence. What? Marco's voice, panicked. I didn't, I've been here. Have you? Vittorio sounded almost sad. Or, did you think that meeting 2 hours ago was just about the ambush? The one where my people gave you secret information about my movements? The one where they promised you an extra $50,000 to make sure I came alone? Lena heard scuffling. Marco's voice higher now. Antonio, I didn't betray you, I swear. You told them about the warehouse? Antonio's voice was death itself.
No.
I didn't tell anyone anything. Then how does he know about it? I don't. Maybe he's guessing. No one guesses military-grade weapons, Marco. No one guesses the exact location. Antonio's footsteps, moving closer to Marco. What did you tell them? Nothing. I told them nothing. But Lena understood now. Vittorio had played them both. He'd fed Marco false information, made him think he was playing both sides. And when Marco had inevitably reported back to Antonio, he'd contaminated his own credibility. Check his phone, Antonio ordered.
What? No.
The sound of a struggle.
Marco's shouting.
Then silence. Well, Antonio's voice was ice. Text messages to an unknown number. The same number that sent you the bonus payment offer. Detailed information about our operation. Time-stamped over the last 3 days, a pause. You've been selling me out piece by piece, Marco. Probably thought you'd take money from both sides and disappear. That's not. I can explain. The gunshot made Lena jump. Single shot. Then the heavy sound of a body hitting pavement. Anyone else feeling disloyal? Antonio's voice carried to his men. Anyone else want to make a deal with the DeLucas? Silence. Terrified silence.
Good.
Now, Antonio turned back to Vittorio. You think you're clever. You think you've outmaneuvered me. But you're forgetting something important. I still have the girl. And whatever evidence you sent to the commission, whatever story you're spinning, it all falls apart when I put a bullet in Thomas Chen's daughter and leave her body in your territory. You could do that, Vittorio agreed. But then you'd have to explain why. Why you targeted her specifically. Why Thomas Chen's daughter ended up dead the same week I expose your weapon smuggling. The commission might start asking questions. Might start investigating that old case from 8 years ago. Lena's breath caught. He was using her father's death as leverage, implying that if Antonio killed her, it would reopen questions about the original murder. You're bluffing again. Maybe. But are you willing to bet your family's reputation on it?
Vittorio paused.
Let her go, Antonio. Take your men and leave. The commission will decide your punishment. But if you kill her, if you start this war, you won't survive the night. Because I didn't come alone. As if on cue, Lena heard new sounds. More vehicles. Many more. Surrounding the area. You brought the commission? Antonio sounded genuinely surprised. I brought witnesses. Neutral parties. Representatives from the Irish, the Russians, the Colombians. All here to observe.
To verify.
If you shoot now, you're not just killing me. You're killing in front of every major family in the city. And they will retaliate. The silence stretched. Then Antonio laughed. It was a broken sound, the laugh of a man who just realized he'd lost. You magnificent bastard, he said. You turned my own trap against me. I learned from the best. Your father taught me that patience beats passion. Strategy beats strength. Vittorio's voice softened. Let her go. End this. And if I don't, then we all die here. And the city tears itself apart. Is that really what you want your legacy to be? Lena heard footsteps approaching the truck. The lock clicked. The door opened. Light flooded in, blinding her. A figure stood silhouetted against it. Miss Chun, Antonio Ravelli said quietly. It seems you're free to go. Lena stumbled out of the truck, blinking in the harsh lights. The scene before her was surreal. 24 men facing each other across the empty street, guns lowered but ready. Vittorio stood in the center, flanked by Carmine and Sal. Behind them, 5 additional cars, their occupants watching with the cold interest of spectators at a gladiator match. Antonio gestured toward Vittorio. Go on. Run to your savior. But Lena didn't move. Something was wrong. Antonio's surrender was too easy, too clean. Men like him didn't just accept defeat. Lena, Vittorio's voice was gentle but urgent. Come here.
Now.
She started walking, her legs unsteady. Past Marco's body, crumpled on the pavement, blood pooling beneath him. Past Antonio's men, their faces hard and angry.
Past. Her foot hit something. A phone.
Not hers, that was in the dumpster. This was Marco's, fallen from his pocket when he'd been shot. The screen was cracked but still lit, still open to his messages. And in that split second, as she glanced down, she saw it. A text thread, recent, with someone named D. Moretti. Shipment moving early. 2 a.m. instead of 4 a.m. DeLuca Warehouse. North Dock. Her blood turned to ice.
Vittorio.
She grabbed the phone, started running. It's a diversion. The real shipment. The explosion cut off her words. Not here. Not at the meatpacking plant. The sound came from east. A deep, thunderous boom that echoed across the city. Orange light bloomed on the horizon like a second sunrise. The docks. Carmine breathed. That's the North Dock. Vittorio's face went white. The warehouse. The primary warehouse, he spun to Antonio. You son of a... But Antonio was smiling. Actually smiling. Did you really think I'd put all my plans in one place? That I depend on Marco, of all people, to be my only asset inside your organization? He gestured to the distant fire. While you were busy saving the girl, proving your case to the commission, gathering witnesses, my people were hitting your real assets. Your primary warehouse. Your shipping records. Your financial documents, he paused. And the 3 captains you left behind to guard it. Another explosion. Smaller this time, but closer. That's the South Dock, Sal said, his voice tight. The fuel depot. And the 3rd. Antonio checked his watch. Should be going off right about
now.
A 3rd explosion. This one to the west. The West Side storage facility, Vittorio said quietly. His hands were clenched into fists, but his face was eerily calm. You're destroying my infrastructure. I'm destroying your empire, Antonio spread his hands. You wanted to play chess, Vittorio?
Fine.
But while you were moving your pieces into position, I was burning the board. By morning, you'll have no warehouses, no storage, no distribution network. Your captains are dead or scattered. Your records are ash. And the family's watching this. He gestured to the observers. They see a man who can't even protect his own territory, who got outmaneuvered by someone younger and smarter. The commission will never approve. The commission will see weakness. And they'll act accordingly. Antonio started backing toward his truck. Kill them. Kill them all. Let the commission sort out the bodies. Wait. Lena's voice rang out. She held up Marco's phone, her hand shaking but her voice steady. You forgot something. Antonio paused. What? Marco was sloppy. He kept records. Text messages. Photos. Instructions from your people. She scrolled through the phone. Here's one. D. Moretti says to keep the Chin girl close. She's insurance, and here. Antonio confirmed the timeline. Warehouse hits at 2 a.m., she looked up. And here's the interesting one. Payment received. Account number 847-2193. Cayman National Bank. Antonio's smile faded. That's a paper trail, Lena continued.
Money.
Names.
Dates.
Everything the commission needs to prove you violated the accords. That you started this war. Not Vittorio. You. Give me that phone. No, Lena backed toward Vittorio. This is evidence. This proves. Antonio moved fast. He crossed the distance in 3 strides and grabbed for the phone. But Lena was faster. She threw it. Not to Vittorio. Not to any of the DeLuca men. To one of the observers. The Irish representative, a man named Brennan who had a reputation for fairness. Brennan caught it, looked at the screen, and his eyebrows rose. This is, he scrolled. This is damning, Antonio. Coordination. Planning. Premeditation. You didn't just respond to DeLuca's aggression. You created it. That phone is fabricated. The metadata says otherwise. Brennan held it up. Messages going back months. Financial transactions. Meeting locations. He looked at the other observers. The commission needs to see this. Antonio's face twisted with rage. You think I care what the commission sees? By the time they convene, DeLuca's operation will be destroyed. There'll be nothing left to argue about. Except you're wrong, Vittorio's voice cut through the chaos. The warehouses you hit? They're decoys. Antonio froze. What? You think I didn't know you had other people inside my organization? That I trusted everyone? Vittorio smiled, cold and sharp. I've been bleeding false information for weeks. The primary warehouse you just destroyed? Empty.
Cleaned out yesterday.
The fuel depot? Moved 3 days ago. The storage facility? Abandoned. You're lying. The real shipments, the real records, the real money? All somewhere safe. Somewhere you'll never find. Vittorio took a step forward. You wanted to burn my empire? You burned empty buildings. Congratulations. Lena watched Antonio's face cycle through emotions, disbelief, rage, fear. He'd been outmaneuvered at every turn. His mole was dead. His evidence was in enemy hands. His trap had become his cage. But you know what's not empty? Vittorio continued. Those warehouses you thought you destroyed? They had cameras, watching your people plant the bombs, recording their faces. And those feeds.
He pulled out his own phone.
Already uploaded to the commission. Along with Marco's records. Along with your smuggling operation. Along with everything. Antonio's hand moved to his gun. But Brennan spoke first. Draw that weapon, and every family here will end you. The commission's word is law. And right now you're facing sanction. The street went silent. Then Antonio did something unexpected. He laughed. You won this round, Vittorio. I'll give you that. He lowered his hand, stepped away from his gun. But this isn't over. The Revellis don't forget. Don't forgive. One day, when you least expect it. Threats are boring. Vittorio's voice was flat. Get out of my territory.
Now.
Before I decide the commission can judge a corpse just as easily as a coward. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Antonio nodded to his men. They climbed into their vehicles, engines starting. Antonio himself walked to his truck, opened the door, then paused. The girl, he called back. Tell her I'm sorry about her father. Thomas Chin was a good man. He deserved better than what he got. Don't, Lena said quietly. Don't you dare pretend you care. Antonio's expression flickered with something that might have been regret. Then he got in his truck and drove away. As the taillights disappeared, Vittorio turned to Lena. Are you hurt?
No.
The adrenaline drained out of her all at once. Her legs buckled. Vittorio caught her before she hit the ground. I've got you. You're safe now. But even as he said it, even as Carmine called for cars and Sal coordinated with the observers, Lena felt the phone in her pocket buzz. Marco's phone. The one she'd thrown to Brennan. Except she hadn't thrown Marco's phone. She'd thrown her own phone, the one Marco had retrieved from the dumpster. Marco's real phone, the one with all the actual evidence, was still hidden in her jacket. And it had just received a new message. Phase 2 active. Chin Girl has the proof. Retrieve or eliminate.
DM.
The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Lena didn't tell Vittorio about the message. Not yet. She sat in his study an hour later, wrapped in a blanket someone had draped over her shoulders, watching him pace. Carmine and Sal stood by the door, their expressions grim. The observers had left, promising to convene an emergency commission meeting within 48 hours. 3 warehouses, Vittorio was saying. All empty, thank God.
But they'll know now.
They'll know we moved everything. So they'll be more cautious, Carmine said. More careful. Or more desperate. Vittorio stopped pacing, looked at Lena. You should rest. You've been through hell tonight. I'm fine, she wasn't. Her hand still shook when she thought about Marco's body, the guns, how close she'd come to dying. Vittorio, there's something I need to tell you. It can wait. It can't. She pulled Marco's real phone from her jacket. I didn't throw this to Brennan. I threw my own phone. This one has the actual messages. The real evidence. The room went silent. Vittorio crossed to her in 2 strides, took the phone, scrolled through it. His face darkened with every swipe. D. Moretti, he read aloud. Messages going back 9 months. Detailed instructions. Payments. Meeting locations. He looked up. Dominic Moretti. He's one of my own captains. A mole, Sal breathed. Inside the inner circle. Not just a mole. The mole. Vittorio kept reading. He's been coordinating everything. Marco was just the muscle. Dominic was feeding information to the Revellis, helping them plan the smuggling routes, telling them which warehouses were real and which were decoys. Then how did we fool them tonight? Carmine asked. Because Dominic didn't know about our counter-operation. I kept that information tight. Only you, Sal, and 3 others. Vittorio's jaw clenched. But he knows now. Or he will soon. And once he realizes we have his phone, he'll run, Sal finished. Or he'll try to tie up loose ends. Vittorio looked at Lena. That message. Retrieve or eliminate. He's talking about you. Lena had already figured that out. She was the only person who could testify about Marco's connections, about the messages, about everything. As long as she was alive, she was a threat. Where is Dominic now? She asked. He was supposed to be at the South Dock, overseeing security. Vittorio pulled out his own phone, dialed. Tommy? Where's Dominic? A pause. What do you mean he left? When? Another pause. His expression turned to stone. Find him. Now. He hung up. Dominic left the South Dock 20 minutes before the explosion. Told his men he had an urgent call from me. They let him go. He knew the bombs were coming, Carmine said. He made sure he wasn't there when they went off. And now he's in the wind. Vittorio slammed his hand on the desk. He could be anywhere. Could be contacting the Revellis right now. Telling them about the phone, about. Wait, Lena stood up, the blanket falling from her shoulders. The messages. Let me see them again. Vittorio handed her the phone. She scrolled through, her father's training kicking in. Look for patterns, Lena. People are creatures of habit. Here, she said. 3 weeks ago. DM sent Marco a meeting location. An address. She pulled up the map. It's a storage unit. North side self-storage. Unit 237-inch. Could be nothing, Sal said. Could be abandoned by now. Or it could be where Dominic keeps his insurance. Lena kept scrolling. Look at the pattern. Every major decision, every big payment, Marco mentions the storage unit. Picked up the package from the usual place. Dropped off the documents where we agreed. This wasn't just a dead drop. This was Dominic's backup plan. Vittorio's eyes sharpened. If he's been skimming money, keeping records, he'd need a place to hide it. Somewhere off the books. Somewhere we wouldn't think to look. And if he's running, he'll go there first. Lena met his gaze. To get his evidence. His money. His escape plan. Carmine checked his watch. It's almost 4 a.m. Storage facility will be dead. No witnesses. Perfect time for an ambush. Sal was already moving toward the door. I'll get the men. No, Vittorio's voice stopped him. If we roll up with an army, he'll see us coming. He'll destroy the evidence and disappear. He looked at Lena. We need bait. Something that would make him stay. Something he needs more than his escape plan. Lena understood immediately. Me. He needs me dead. If I show up at the storage unit, he'll come? Absolutely not. Vittorio's tone was final. You're not putting yourself in danger again. I'm already in danger. And this might be our only chance to end this. She stood, feeling steadier than she had all night. But I want to know something first. The truth. All of it. Vittorio studied her face. What do you want to know? My father. You said the Revellis killed him because he testified against them. But that case was 8 years ago. Why target me now? Why wait all this time? The room went quiet. Vittorio exchanged a glance with Carmine. Tell her, Carmine said quietly. She deserves to know. Vittorio walked to the window, his back to her. Your father's testimony didn't just threaten the Revellis. It threatened everyone. He'd been keeping books for multiple families. Had evidence of money laundering, smuggling operations, corruption that went all the way to City Hall.
Lena's heart sank.
He wasn't just testifying against the Revelis.
No.
He was going to bring down half the city's underworld. Including my family. Vittorio turned to face her. My father was alive then. He was the one who gave the order to silence Thomas Chin. Not directly, but he approved it. Let the Revelis handle it, so our hands stayed clean. The words hit her like a physical blow. Your father killed mine. Yes, Vittorio's voice was raw. I didn't know about it until years later. I was 24, still learning the business. By the time I found out, my father was dying. I confronted him about it. He said it was necessary. Said your father would have destroyed everything we built. That some deaths are the price of survival. Lena couldn't breathe. And when you became boss, I tried to make amends. I had my people track down Thomas Chen's family. Found out he had a daughter.
You.
Living alone, working minimum wage jobs, struggling, his eyes met hers. I've been watching you for 3 years, Lena. Making sure you were safe. Making sure you had opportunities. When Marco started dating you, I didn't know he was working for the Revelis. I thought it was just bad luck. By the time I realized the truth, I was already in the middle of it. Lena felt tears burning her eyes. Everything. All of this. It all comes back to my father. The Revelis didn't just want to destroy me. They wanted revenge. Your father's testimony started their downfall, even if it didn't finish the job. Having his daughter working for me, being used against me, that was justice to them. Poetic. Vittorio took a step toward her. I know I can't undo what my family did. Can't bring your father back. But I can give you a choice.
You can walk away. Right now.
I'll give you money, protection, and new identity. You never have to see me or this world again. Lena wiped her eyes. Or you help me finish this. Not for me. For your father. For every person the Revelis have hurt. For every lie they've told. He held out his hand. Help me burn them down. The right way. With evidence. With testimony. With justice. She looked at his hand. Thought about her father, sitting at their kitchen table. Papers spread everywhere. I have to do the right thing, Lena. Even if it's dangerous. Her father had tried to expose the truth and died for it. But he'd also taught her that some things were worth the risk. Lena took Vittorio's hand. Let's go to the storage unit, she said. And let's end this. The Northside self-storage facility was a maze of corrugated metal and security lights. At 4:30 in the morning, it was silent except for the buzz of insects and the distant hum of highway traffic. Lena sat in her Honda Civic in the parking lot, alone. At least, she appeared to be alone. Vittorio was 2 buildings over with Sal and 3 trusted men, watching through binoculars. Carmine was positioned at the facility's only exit. They'd surrounded the place as quietly as possible, but if Dominic was smart, and he'd already know they were here. The question was whether he'd come anyway. Lena's phone buzzed. A text from Vittorio's burner. Unit 237 is 3 rows back. Southeast corner. No movement yet. She typed back. Give me 5 minutes. She got out of the car, making sure her footsteps echoed on the pavement. Making sure anyone watching would know she was here.
Alone.
Vulnerable. The storage units loomed around her like metal coffins. She walked slowly, counting rows.
1, 2,
3. The southeast corner was darker. The security light burned out or deliberately broken. Unit 237 had a heavy padlock, recently oiled. Someone had been here often. Lena pulled out a crowbar from her jacket. Sal had given it to her with a grim smile and instructions on where to strike. She positioned it against the lock. I wouldn't do that if I were you. The voice came from behind her. Lena spun around. Dominic Moretti stepped out of the shadows. He was older than she'd expected, maybe 50, with gray at his temples and the kind of face that looked trustworthy. The kind of face that made you think he was on your side. He was holding a gun. Lena Chin, he said almost sadly. Thomas Chen's daughter. You have no idea how much trouble you've caused. You knew my father? Her voice was steadier than she felt. Never met him. But I knew what he represented. Honesty. integrity. All the things that get people killed in this business. Dominic gestured with the gun. Step away from the unit. Lena obeyed, moving slowly. You've been working with the Revellis for how long? 9 years. Long before you became relevant. Dominic kept the gun trained on her. Antonio's father approached me after Thomas Chen's testimony fell apart. Said they needed eyes inside the DeLuca organization. Offered me more money than Vittorio's father paid me in a decade. So I said yes. You betrayed your family for money. I serve my interests. There's a difference. He moved closer. The DeLucas are dinosaurs, Lena. Old ways, old rules, old blood. The Revellis understand that this business is evolving. You need to be smart, flexible, willing to adapt. You mean willing to murder innocent people? Your father wasn't innocent.
He was a threat.
And threats get eliminated. Dominic's expression hardened. Just like you. Marco's phone was supposed to be destroyed. Instead, you're walking around with 9 months of evidence in your pocket. Evidence that ties me to everything. Smuggling, theft, conspiracy. That phone gets to the commission, and I'm a dead man. So, you're going to kill me and take it. I'm going to kill you, because you're a loose end. The phone's just a bonus. He raised the gun. Nothing personal. Just business. Like it was business with my father? Exactly like that. Lena saw his finger tighten on the trigger. And that's when the lights blazed on. Floodlights from 3 directions, turning night into day. Drop the weapon, Dominic. Vittorio's voice echoed through the facility. You're surrounded. Dominic's head whipped around, searching for the source.
Vittorio.
I should have known. You should have known a lot of things. Like that I've been watching you for 6 months. That I knew someone in my inner circle was dirty. That I fed you false information to see where it went. Vittorio stepped out from behind a storage unit, flanked by Sal. No gun in his hands. Drop the weapon. Last chance. Dominic laughed, a bitter sound. You think I'm afraid of dying? I've been dead since the moment Marco got caught. The Revellis don't forgive failure. Then don't die for them. Die for something that matters. Vittorio took a step closer. Tell the commission everything. Testify against the Revellis. Give us the evidence in that storage unit. In exchange, I'll give you protection. A new identity. A chance to disappear. Why would you do that? Because I'm tired of bodies. Tired of revenge. Tired of this endless cycle. Vittorio's voice was quiet but firm. End it, Dominic. Be the one who breaks the chain. For a long moment, Dominic didn't move. The gun stayed pointed at Lena, his hand trembling slightly. Then he lowered it. The storage unit, he said quietly. Everything's in there. Financial records, communication logs, evidence of every crime the Revellis have committed in the last 9 years. I kept it as insurance, in case they turned on me. Open it. Dominic pulled out a key, unlocked the padlock, and rolled up the metal door. The unit was packed with filing boxes, hard drives, and folders. Years of evidence, carefully cataloged and stored. There's something else, Dominic said. He walked to the back, pulled out a specific folder. About Thomas Chen's murder. The original order came from Antonio's father, yes. But the man who pulled the trigger? He's still alive. Still working for the Revellis. His name is Vincent Caruso. Lena's breath caught. You know who killed my father? I know everything. Names, dates, locations. It's all in here. He handed her the folder, including evidence that would reopen the case. Give your father justice. Real justice. Lena's hands shook as she took the folder. Inside were police reports, witness statements, photos, and a signed confession from Vincent Caruso, kept as insurance by the Revellis in case they needed leverage. Why are you giving this to me? Dominic's expression was unreadable. Because your father was brave. He tried to do the right thing even though he knew it would cost him everything. The least I can do is give his daughter the closure he never got. Vittorio nodded to Sal. Get him out of here. Protective custody until the commission meets. As they led Dominic away, Lena stood in front of the storage unit, holding her father's justice in her hands.
Vittorio approached quietly.
What do you want to do with it? I want to use it. Every page. Every piece of evidence. She looked at him. I want the Revelis destroyed. Legally.
Properly.
No more murders in alleys. No more bodies that disappear. The commission meets in 36 hours. We'll present everything. Dominic's testimony, Marco's phone records, this evidence. It'll be enough to sanction the Revelis. Dismantle their organization. And Vincent Caruso? I'll make sure he faces justice. Real justice. In court, Vittorio paused. Your father deserved better than what he got. But because of him, because of what he tried to do, we can finish what he started. Lena looked at the folder again. Her father's face stared back at her from a crime scene photo, forever frozen at 42 years old. He always said the truth was worth dying for, she whispered. I never understood what he meant. Not until now. He'd be proud of you. I hope so. She tucked the folder under her arm. Let's finish this. For him. As dawn broke over the city, they loaded the evidence into Vittorio's cars. Box after box of truth, carefully preserved, finally seeing the light. And for the first time in 8 years, Lena felt like she could breathe. 3 months later, Lena stood in front of a villa she'd never seen before. It sat on a hillside an hour outside the city, surrounded by olive trees and gardens that rolled down to a small lake. The house itself was old but beautifully restored, cream-colored stone, terracotta roof, windows that caught the afternoon sun and threw it back in golden streams. There was a mailbox at the end of the drive with a name on it. Chun. Lena's hands tightened on the steering wheel of her new car, not the old Honda, which had been totaled when the Revelis firebombed her apartment complex in a final act of spite before the commission shut them down. This was something better. Something that felt like hope. She got out slowly, walked up the stone path to the front door. It was unlocked. Inside, the villa was furnished, but empty of people. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture, a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a magazine. On the dining table sat a folder with her name on it. Inside was a deed. The villa, the land, everything transferred to her name. Paid in full. And a note in Vittorio's precise handwriting. We should talk. I'm in the garden. Lena found him sitting on a stone bench overlooking the lake, dressed casually in jeans and a white shirt. It was strange seeing him without the suits, without the armor of his position. He looked younger. Almost peaceful. I can't accept this, she said without preamble. Vittorio smiled slightly. I thought you might say that. This is too much.
A villa.
Land? I can't. It's not a gift, he stood, gestured to the bench.
Seat.
Please.
She sat, wary.
After the commission hearing, after the Revelis were sanctioned and dismantled, I had my accountants go through everything Dominic gave us. All the financial records, all the stolen money. He paused. Your father wasn't just testifying about smuggling. He discovered that the Revelis had been stealing from legitimate businesses, including a property investment fund that your family had shares in. Lena blinked. What? Your grandfather started it. Small investments in real estate across the state. When he died, he left it to your father. And when your father died, it should have gone to you. Vittorio pulled out another folder. But the Revelis embezzled it. Took the money, forged documents claiming the fund was bankrupt. You were 18, grieving, and you never knew to look for it. How much? Her voice was barely a whisper. $400,000. Plus 8 years of compound interest. He handed her the folder. The commission ordered full restitution as part of the Revelis sanctions. This villa? I bought it with your money. Money that was always yours. I'm not giving you anything, Lena. I'm just returning what was stolen. She opened the folder with shaking hands. Bank statements. Investment records. All in her name. My father's money, she breathed. Your father's legacy. He worked hard, invested wisely, built something for you. The Revelis took that. Now you have it back. Lena felt tears burning her eyes. And Vincent Caruso? In prison. 25 to life for your father's murder. The evidence from Dominic's storage unit was airtight. The DA reopened the case, and Caruso took a plea deal. Vittorio's voice softened. Your father's name was cleared. The newspapers ran corrections. The city issued an official apology. It doesn't bring him back.
No.
But it gives him justice. And it gives you a future. Vittorio stood, looked out at the lake. I know I can't undo what my family did. My father's approval, my organization's resources, they all played a part in Thomas Chen's death. That guilt is mine to carry. Why are you doing this? Lena stood too, facing him. The money, the villa, helping me. Why? He was quiet for a long moment. Because you looked at me. That night in my study, when I ordered you to look at me, you lifted your head, and I saw something I'd forgotten existed in this world.
Dignity.
Strength. Someone who'd been beaten down but refused to stay down. He turned to face her. You reminded me that there's more to life than territory and power and endless war. You reminded me what my father forgot, that some things matter more than winning. Like what? Like doing the right thing. Even when it costs you everything. He smiled sadly. Your father taught you that. And you taught me. Lena felt something shift in her chest. Not forgiveness. She wasn't sure she could ever fully forgive what his family had done. But understanding, maybe. Recognition. What happens now? She asked.
Now?
You live. Vittorio gestured to the villa. You have money, property, safety. You can go back to school, start a business, travel the world. Whatever you want. You're free, Lena. Truly free. And you? I'm reforming my organization. Cutting ties with anything illegal, focusing on legitimate business. It'll take years and I'll make enemies, but it's time. He paused. The commission was impressed with how I handled the Ravelli situation. They're considering me for a leadership position, overseeing the transition to more legal operations. A reformed mobster. Lena almost smiled. Think it'll work? I don't know, but I'm going to try. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a business card. If you ever need anything, if you're ever in trouble, call me. She took the card. It was simple, elegant. Just his name and a phone number. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything. Thank your father.
He's the one who started this.
Who showed us that one person with the courage to tell the truth can change everything. Vittorio held out his hand. Goodbye, Lena-chan. Live well. She shook his hand. His grip was warm, steady. Then he walked away, down the stone path toward his car. She watched him go, no longer the man of shadows who'd terrified an entire city, but someone trying to walk toward the light. Just like her. Lena turned back to the villa, her villa, and stepped inside. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, filling every room with warmth. For the first time in 8 years, she felt like she was home.
The end.